What is going on, everyone? Have you ever wondered how to have a great conversation, whether it's with a stranger or if you're out on a date? Well, in today's video, I'm going to give you 4 tips on how to have a great conversation and what are my 2 secrets in terms of how to be a great conversationalist. And I'm going to give them to you actually right now. The main 2 secrets is, first, be a great interviewer. And the second one is banter. Be witty. And so I'm going to talk about exactly how to do that in this video. All right, tip number 1 is make it about the other person, not about you. The conversation should be about the other person. That means you have to stop multitasking. And I don't mean just on your cell phone or anything like that, but it also means, thinking about what to say next, or, something witty you want to say, or perhaps, you have a great comeback for whatever they said, or you have a story that you can input. Stop that. Stop multitasking and really be present and be genuinely interested. So this is a big part of being a great interviewer. You have to be genuinely curious and listen with the intent to understand. That means that, coming from a place of knowing that you don't know everything and that this person can add so much value, so much information into your life experience, as well as be genuinely curious about this person. What you'll realize is that when you genuinely listen, you'll figure out that most people are not what they appear to be. They're usually better. So what that means is, for example, I used to run wine tours, and I would spend 5-6 hours with these people. It was, they would be a little tipsy at the end, and so that would reveal more characteristics. But long story short, they were not who I thought they were in the beginning, in a good way. Also, I learned so much more than I would read in a book, just by spending 4, 5, 6 hours with them. And so understand that you can learn so much and you can gain so much simply by seeking to understand, and they will feel it and they will be very open to you. A little bit later in the video, I'll be sharing some tips on what kind of questions to ask, as well as what kind of banter to add into it, because just making it, in terms of a very serious or passionate or conversation doesn't give a dynamic feel to it, especially if you're out on a date or you're actually, like someone and want to really connect with them much more than just socially. So if that's the case, check out the next tips and you'll learn how to spice it up a little bit more. All right, so tip number 2 is ask open-ended questions. So figure out what you're passionate about, as well as what might interest you, so you can find commonalities that are actually at a deeper level than just small talk. So for example, you could say, what are you excited about in your life right now? You can say more casually than that, but things like that. You want to ask about that, what they're into, and then start asking why questions. Why are you into this? What got you into this? All that kind of stuff. So go into definitely open-ended questions. And again, from my standpoint, especially if I'm out on a date or something like that, I actually want to do it from a place of finding a commonality where we are actually both passionate about the same thing. For example, I might go into lucid dreaming, I might go into self-help, I might go into traveling, living abroad, that kind of stuff. Whatever you're into, know what you're into, and then see if you find any commonalities within these open-ended questions. And one more thing about open-ended questions is that a very good perspective is to go with the flow. In other words, if a conversation flows a certain way, don't be rigid about it. If something came up from a question and you're like, wow, I thought about the story about that, let it go. Just go with the flow. Don't be rigid about it. Otherwise, you're not going to be present and you're not really going to be engaged in the conversation. As part of being present and engaged with this person is not being so attached to having something to say. All right, tip number 3 is, let's say you are on a date. You want to have a mindset that you are sexy and that, this person is going to be really, really into you. The reason why is because as I go into tip number 4, which is going to be banter, sexy banter at that, and double entendres and all that kind of stuff, it will communicate a lot more powerfully if you believe yourself to be attractive, and if you believe that this person's into you, then you can accuse them of being, a little too forward or that kind of stuff. I do that with women a lot, and you can do that kind of stuff, but especially if it's real in your head, it will come out a lot more genuinely, and it will be funnier when you say it out loud rather than kind of faking it, if that makes sense. So again, feel attractive, be sexy, and just feel that way. All right, going into the fourth tip, this is banter. And with banter, really, I do it with everyone. Of course, there's different ways that I do it when it comes to different contexts, whether it's I'm at a networking event, or I'm doing it on a date, or I'm just bantering with a dude. I do it in different ways, but it's always very similar. It's very kind of playfully antagonizing, as well as it might be sexually charged in a way. It doesn't matter who I'm talking to. As well as I might just have funny answers to common questions that people ask me to make the conversation a little more spicy, with a little bit more flavor, if you will. So the first thing is really playfully antagonizing people. So one of the things that I love to do, for example, and you can come up with your own ways of doing this, but for example, if we're eating, let's say you are on a date or they're drinking, you might point at something, like they have something on their face, and again, maybe it's the first time they're meeting you, so they don't know when to take you seriously and when to know when you're joking. In fact, I get that all the time. So you want to have a straight face and be like, you got something here, and then they're looking around and they're like wiping their whole face around. You're moving your hand around, so they're like, no, it's here, actually here, and then they figure out, of course, you're joking. Something like that, as well as I love to observe people's body language and mimic a little bit playfully. So especially people, and especially women, if they have very strong, hand movements and that kind of stuff, I usually look into that, and I do it because it's fun for me. All this stuff is hilarious to me. So I would do it with everyone. But again, it really, if you are out on a date, it spices things up, and they're like, oh, okay, it puts them on their toes a little bit. The second thing that I like to do is, misinterpret things as sexual, and in a playful way. So again, something like, any word that can be misinterpreted, something like doing it, blow, dirty, all these kind of words that can be misinterpreted, you can simply, give them like a look, or misinterpret it. For example, often I say, when they say something that could be anywhere close to being misinterpreted, I say, oh, is that code? And I give them kind of that look and half smile. And again, I don't just do it with women or only on dates. I do it with everyone, and it's kind of like it's kind of fun, and because I'm not really hitting on anyone, it's just kind of like my way of having a good time and making conversations a lot more fun. The third way that I like to banter is by simply having funny answers to the common questions I get asked a lot. For example, I've said this for years, and probably some people are bored of it, but new people have never heard of this perhaps. But I often say, if they're asking, what's it called? Oh, what do you do? I might say, I'm a pole dancer instructor, or I might say, I don't know, whatever it is, dolphin trainer. It doesn't really matter, or where you're from and all that kind of stuff. You can make up funny stuff, and again, say it with a straight face, and then go from there. And then obviously you are going to tell them, the real story, and it's not about lying or anything. It's just mostly about being playful. And those are the kind of things that you want to incorporate into your banter, into your conversation. And again, it gets people thinking. It gets people out of their routine and out of their small talk, scenario. And so just to take you through all this, what I've really shown you is you are being now a person that actually listens, it's present, and is actually interested, and is curious and hungry to learn from people when you are in conversation, as well as you're asking all the right questions, and and now you're adding this spice of banter into this, which only makes it, it only adds to the conversation. So now it's not just about connecting emotionally. You're beginning to spark attraction. If you are out on a date, you're beginning to spark that connection. So that's about it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Any questions, or you want me to cover any other subjects, put them down below. What else? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button, and I'll see you guys at the next video, and we'll talk to you soon.